There's something so icky about like a guy being so happy.
100%. No, literally, Dave is always sad, and I'm like, this is so hot.
Right? That's
everything
hot.
makes him sad.
Yeah, but if they're so ecstatic,
No,
They cannot show joy like that. That's forbidden.
Yeah.
You meet a guy with
That's for
anhedonia
women.
where they don't experience joy.
I'm the happiest when like the person I'm dating is like crying. I think that's so hot.
It's really
Yeah.
masculine to just be like down.
Yeah. And even if you are happy, like show it in other ways.
Yeah.
Like, you know, don't release it out
Keep
into
it to yourself.
Don't show joy, like just smile slightly.
Don't be elated.
I like that our last conversation was just talking about men's bodies and what they can and can't look like. And then this is about
We're gonna get so much trouble.
they literally can't be happy and they're like disgusting if they smile or show joy.
Yeah.
We just set the clock back 10 years.
When I moved forward on the divorce, I did tell Brandon that I was getting a divorce from him, and he wasn't able to really process it. And now I don't bring it up. I don't remind him that we're not married. It's been many, many years since we've been married, but I don't remind him because he won't remember. And there are times that he refers to me as his wife, so I really honestly don't know. It's not helpful for me to keep coming back and telling him. It's like if you have the loved one. I don't know 100% sure, but I think he is.
Have you guys noticed that most married men aren't actually happy? Most married men are lying to themselves and gaslighting themselves into thinking that they're happy in a marriage which is loveless, sexless, where the woman always argues and belittles and emasculates them. Their wife endlessly nags at them while they're working full-time, trying to provide for her, for the family. Women will often victimize themselves and say that their mental load is overbearing. Meanwhile, the man has to look at the big picture, worry about the wife, the kids, working every day, endlessly paying for all of the bills, providing. He has to worry about investments, about retirement, about the college funds for the kids. Meanwhile, the woman only has to worry about preparing dinner, keeping the house clean, making sure that the kids are happy and healthy. The woman will say that she's overstimulated just because she has to cook dinner and keep the house clean. But they never stop to consider the mental load that men have. Most men stay in relationships so they don't lose everything, so they can see their kids and they don't have to split custody. It's truly so sad how many men gaslight themselves into staying in a relationship where both parties are not happy and they feel like they can't speak up because they have a wife who berates them or emasculates them and belittles them on the daily.
Responses.
Here are some simple things to do if you want to keep your man happy in your relationship and having a long-lasting relationship. 1, intimacy. Do the deed. He did not marry you to marry your roommate because likely you're not paying for half the bills. So number 1, be intimate with your partner. It's a part of a relationship. And if you're not, shame on you. Then you wonder why he cheats. But number 2, cook a meal from time to time. Nowadays, ladies don't even want to cook anymore. Like, oh, I can make a smoothie. Do you want a sandwich? What happened to like making dinner, having dinner on the table? Do some laundry, maybe do some cleaning. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy to do some cleaning. It's okay to have some gender roles. It's okay to take some of those female responsibilities and let your man be a man. I don't want a man that's going to be a boy that wants to be more feminine than me. I don't want to be the alpha in the relationship. Be feminine, be encouraging, be supportive. Let him own that alpha role, but also you need to do your part. And then lastly, be respectful, respect your man, as well as give him some peace and quiet. He doesn't care what Susie Q's doing at work, nor what the Real Housewives are doing. So it's very simple. Okay, you're welcome.
I'm a 3-time divorcee and I'm getting married for the 4th time in June. Now, many of you might be asking, why get married again? I asked that question too. And I'm going to get into it. So, after my 3rd divorce, I kind of decided marriage wasn't important to me. The most important thing for me was to find a lifelong partner, someone that I could just live my life with, blah, blah, blah. So I would date with the intention of, maybe I don't get married again, but this is someone that I want to be with for the rest of my life. Another point to make is, for me, kids have never been like the end all be all. Like, it's not my dream to have kids, but I'm also not like anti-kid. It's kind of, I would be okay if I had a kid, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so moving forward. When my fiance and I started dating, we both were saying that we didn't want to get married because he's also previously married. So we were kind of like, okay, like, we're cool if we just are lifelong partners. And I had said, even though we're not going to get married, I'd still like to have an engagement ring just to kind of have some kind of, sense. I don't have it on, but something to just say that I am like committed, blah, blah, blah. So we started talking more, and I kind of brought up the story of my cousin who was living in California at the time. She got into a very bad water slide accident where her face kind of like fell off. And at the time, she's a lesbian, so at the time she was with her partner, and this was before California legalized gay marriage. And she had told us that even though they were like in a partnership or whatever, that her girlfriend or partner wasn't able to make any medical decisions or receive medical information regarding my cousin after her accident. And for some reason, I guess certain states have different laws. So we were talking about that. I was like, oh, I should look into this, like what the laws are in North Carolina, what the laws are in Illinois, because this was when we were debating where we would be living. And, it says that the only people that can make medical decisions for you, because in this instance, I was like thinking specifically a coma, or, if me and him had kids outside of being married and something happened during childbirth, like who's going to be making those decisions, blah, blah, blah. And like, unless you have a power of attorney, someone like my fiance, if we weren't getting married, they're like on the last, they're not even top 5. It goes like your adult children, if you have any, I think your parents, and then adult siblings, and then some other family members, and then that. But I was just thinking, why even mess with the whole power of attorney? Because like, we had to make sure we would have it on our phones at all times, blah, blah, blah. So we based our decision getting married off of that, because we also decided, if we end up having kids, because there are a lot of different factors that could prevent us from having kids. So if we do end up having kids, it just made sense that, if things were to happen, either one of us can make medical decisions without having to wait for, say my family coming from out of state to come and make whatever decisions. Again, I don't know how any of that works. I don't know if things have changed, like if phone calls and stuff like that, but that was kind of basically where we're like, okay, like it wouldn't necessarily hurt to get married again for either one of us. He's only been married once before, so not as many as me, but that's kind of the decision. And we're happy with the decision. For us, again, like we said, marriage is not like the end all be all thing, but we decided we're going to do it, and we're going to just go do it fully. And if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right, basically. So that is kind of like the reasons. And I didn't want to make my thing about my divorces and stuff like that, but I think I need to just lean into it. So just lean into the 3-time divorcee thing, and been getting married for the 4th time, and hopefully that is my last time ever getting married, because for sure after that you can forget about me getting married or having kids if this doesn't work out. So there we go.
The best moment in a man's life is when he finally realizes that his happiness does not depend on anybody else. Every man has a breaking point, and it's the moment his entire life shifts for the better. Not because he stops loving his family, not because he becomes selfish, but because he finally wakes up. Most men tie their identity to being needed, but that pressure destroys them silently. A good man spends years carrying everybody else, his kids, his partner, his parents, but the same man often forgets the only person he can't replace, himself. And then life hits him hard, a betrayal, the loss of a child, a divorce, bankruptcy, a collapse that shakes his entire sense of worth. But then something clicks. The question changes. It stops being, what do I need to do for everybody else? And it becomes, what am I doing for myself? That is the moment a man stops surviving and starts rebuilding. He invests in himself, his health, his future, his mission, his mind, and his peace. Because now he understands the truth that most men never get to learn. If his happiness depends on anybody else, he's fragile. If that person leaves or if the job disappears, his entire world falls with it. But once he chooses himself, he becomes unshakable. So if you see a man suddenly focusing on his goals, his routine, and his purpose, don't panic. He's not pulling away from you. He's pulling himself out of the life he built on fear. He's no longer with somebody because he needs them. He is with somebody because he chooses to be with them. Because he's finally building a happiness that comes from within. There's a big difference between a man who needs a woman and a man who chooses to be with one. One is dependency, the other is power. When a man learns how to create his own peace, his own stability, his own identity, he brings a love that is grounded, steady, and intentional. A love that is not born from fear or losing somebody, but from strength and knowing exactly who he is without them. And that's when a man becomes dangerous in the best possible way because he finally knows his own worth. Be dangerous. The best moment in a man's life is when he finally realizes that his happiness does not depend on anybody else. Every man has a breaking point, and it's the moment his entire life shifts for the better. Not because he stops loving his family, not because he becomes selfish, but because he finally wakes up. Most men tie their identity to being needed, but that pressure destroys them silently. A good man spends years carrying everybody else, his kids, his partner, his parents, but the same man often forgets the only person he can't replace, himself. And then life hits him hard, a betrayal, the loss of a child, a divorce, bankruptcy, a collapse that shakes his entire sense of worth. But then something clicks. The question changes. It stops being, what do I need to do for everybody else? And it becomes, what am I doing for myself? That is the moment a man stops surviving and starts rebuilding. He invests in himself, his health, his future, his mission, his mind, and his peace. Because now he understands the truth that most men never get to learn. If his happiness depends on anybody else, he's fragile. If that person leaves or if the job disappears, his entire world falls with it. But once he chooses himself, he becomes unshakable. So if you see a man suddenly focusing on his goals, his routine, and his purpose, don't panic. He's not pulling away from you. He's pulling himself out of the life he built on fear. He's no longer with somebody because he needs them. He is with somebody because he chooses to be with them. Because he's finally building a happiness that comes from within. There's a big difference between a man who needs a woman and a man who chooses to be with one. One is dependency, the other is power. When a man learns how to create his own peace, his own stability, his own identity, he brings a love that is grounded, steady, and intentional. A love that is not born from fear or losing somebody, but from strength and knowing exactly who he is without them. And that's when a man becomes dangerous in the best possible way because he finally knows his own worth. Be dangerous.
Men tell us over and over and over that the woman that they really love, that they really want, doesn't have to cook and clean for him. He doesn't want that for you. He doesn't want to look over and see his wife working hard to serve him. A man who really loves you and appreciates women for who they are, he wants to see you happy. He doesn't want to see you stressed. He wants to see you happy. He doesn't want to see you sad. He wants to see you happy. He doesn't want to see you angry. The more that you do for men, the more you will only attract men who need you to take care of them. But a decent man wants to see the difference between his wife and his mother. How do you get a man like this? What is it that they really want? They want to be appreciated. They want to feel special. Whenever my husband does anything amazing for me, and mind you, my husband makes me dinner every single night, and he does the dishes, and he does his own laundry, etc., etc., I simply appreciate him. I say thank you, and I show him my gratitude. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It's telling them exactly why you are grateful for what they've done. And this isn't faking it. You never have to fake it with these men. They do these things and then you immediately are like, oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you. Because that's how you feel.
Women are gonna fucking hate that I'm telling men this, but men, the worst advice you ever got is just do anything to make her happy. Then she'll like you, she'll be good. I have a client that I'm working with right now. He is going over and above to make this girl happy that he's dating. It's the beginning stages, so that is when you train her how to treat you. So at first when he came to me, he was losing her. She said she wasn't interested in him long term, couldn't see herself falling in love with him. That's where we had to switch it. By just him changing the way that he reacts to her situationally and taking a more high value approach and setting boundaries with her, she completely 180'd and was like, wait, I love you. I want to be with you. Completely different, because women only respect men who respect themselves. When you're just like pleasing her too much, when you know something is crossing a fucking line, you set a boundary. That's a masculine energy, and that shows that you know your value. You think what's happening is like, oh, over time she'll like me more, this is good, I won't lose her if I just keep on making her happy, but you're actually pushing her away. That's why you hear things from women where they're like, oh, I don't think I'm looking for a relationship right now, I don't see myself ever falling in love with you. And that's harsh, and it's because where it's coming from is she can tell that he doesn't respect himself. He's putting her needs toward his, and there's times where that is just crossing the line. And over time, she doesn't respect you anymore. And once the respect is lost, then she doesn't want to have sex with you anymore. It just keeps on going down and down. For instance, say you're dating a girl and she keeps talking about her ex-boyfriend. Instead of what a lot of guys do where they're like, oh shit, are you like still hung up on him? Or they act like it's fine, it doesn't faze me, and they just let her keep talking about her ex. Like, don't do that. Instead, you can say in a high value way, it looks like that relationship taught you a lot, but I'm curious about the you now. In a nice way, letting her know, I don't want to fucking talk about your ex-boyfriend. Let's keep it here, because you're going there and it's not my thing. Women respect when a man respects himself. They walk all over the men that don't respect themselves, and then they get bored of them. And that's when they're talking to other guys. It's because they can feel that you're not deep down loving yourself the way you should. Tell her how daddy wants to be treated. Yeah, it's hot. Take control.
Why is it that nobody talks about the amount of men that are in relationships lying to themselves and severely gaslighting themselves into believing that they're happy? They're in sexless marriages where literally their wife is nagging every single day, and these women want to always victimize themselves by bringing up this whole mental load shit, but they never stop to consider the mental load that men have. And what I mean by mental load is he's looking at the bigger picture. He's making sure that she's good. He's making sure that the kids are good. He's making sure that he has retirement and investments and a college fund for the kids. Meanwhile, she thinks she's overwhelmed because she's got to take Johnny to soccer practice because she signed him up for 12 activities and 6 sporting events, and she's overwhelmed. Like, she didn't even have to do all that, first of all. But I digress. The amount of men that are in relationships because they don't want to lose all of their shit, the amount of men that can't even speak up and they're being oppressed by women that hold them down and belittle them and emasculate them. But if they leave, guess what? They lose like 80% of their parenting time. Most men are only in relationships so they can still see their kids full time. And the worst part about it is society pretends like they care about mental health, but if a man were to bring up the fact that he's burnt out or the fact that he feels like he's not good enough because he's not providing enough and his marriage is failing, then he still gets blamed for it and he's looked at as a weaker man. But yet it's only the women that are oppressed and supposedly surviving in their marriages, even though there's men out here that literally haven't been touched, haven't been affectionate with their wives, and their wives want nothing to do with them for the last 10 years. Okay, bye.
Do I think my husband is happy with me? I really don't care whether he's happy with me or not. That's not my job to make him happy, sir. Each of us have our own happiness to have and to make. If our happiness depended on each other, no. And that's why a lot of people don't make it in relationships, because they put someone else's happiness as someone else's responsibility. Okay, that's a good piece of relationship advice right there. Whether they're broke or not, your happiness is not their responsibility. Okay, so I don't care if he's happy. That's his job. Make himself happy. Sprinkle, sprinkle. All right. Do I bring him happiness? Yeah, when I give him the remote control to the TV, he'd be happy.